Not now. Hold on. Now.
Drivers, minus Bottas and Hamilton, start your engines!
You are now listening to the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. and I'm welcoming you to take another lap of the extra mile for tonight, June 27th, 2019. And ladies and gentlemen, we are into the second half of the season here in the International Motorsports calendar. NASCAR heads towards the playoffs. IndyCar heads towards their championship decider in Laguna Seca. And Formula One mercifully heads towards the end of its season, which we're going to start with first here on the program. But before we do that, I have to welcome in my co-host, Caitlin Seam, and our special guest for the evening from USRN. You heard him on a lot of the broadcasts over there on that station. You'll hear him again this Sunday for NASCAR at the Chicagoland Speedway, Mr. Matthew Owens. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you for having me again. An honor to be on with you both.
Well, after the first time,
I literally just wanted to yell something into the phone. I'm not going to. I'm restraining myself.
I will fill everyone in on what that was about. We were having a conversation before the start of the show about how, let's be honest, they've run the Dale Jr. slide job into the ground, and Matt and I are just done with it at this point, and Caitlin has basically said that she was going to scream slide job at random intervals during the program.
It felt really fitting right in that moment.
I mean, honestly, Daryl, they ran that into the ground the Monday after the race.
I know.
And yet I'm still seeing it pop up on my Twitter 17 times a day, at least, a year later. I'm losing my mind with it.
I'm pretty sure it's
we can deal with it a little longer. Look how long we've had to deal with DW. I'm just saying.
Oh,
we had to trade one for another. Am I the only one celebrating the end of this conversation on the show today? Because cheers.
I'm bittersweet when it comes to DW, but I'll get into that. We are going to talk about the end of DW's illustrious broadcasting career tonight on the show. And yeah, about the slide job thing, I'm pretty sure it's halfway to China at this point with how far they've run it into the ground. Hopefully after this week we'll get another Dale Jr. quip or literally anything else than what we've had to deal with listening to them.
Careful what you wish for.
15 million times.
Yeah, that is true. Careful what we might get from Rick Allen this weekend. But anyway, that's beside the point.
I kind of see. I'm not that sour on Rick Allen, only because I loved him in the trucks, and I know he's had some issues with some people in the Cup, but I still like Rick Allen.
See, it's so tough because I was like you. He wasn't bad when he was doing the truck series, it didn't seem. But oh my gosh, he got to the Cup series with NBC, and what happened? He screams and screams and screams and screams, and he says rhombuses and random words at random times. It's really,
maybe he has Tourette's and we don't know it.
That's always a possibility.
Possibly.
I'm trying to be the glass half full kind of guy.
I mean, he had me laughing. He had me laughing when he called Chase Elliott Chase Energy. He had me laughing when he just randomly said Joey Logano has ran out of foo instead of fuel. That was good. There's just a whole bunch of times where I thought, oh goodness, what have we gotten here? But anyway, I'll I'll stop while I'm somewhat ahead here.
So we
careful, they might do a slide job on you.
Oh, thank you.
And that's one. So that we'll pivot away from a topical conversation about broadcasters for just one moment, because guys, we got to talk about yet another debacle with Formula One, and this is one of the times where I wish we were doing a simulcast, because you would see me pinching the bridge of my nose, because Lewis Hamilton won again by 18 seconds. Or what about Terry Bottas? Again. Charles Leclerc actually finished on the podium for once. Ferrari didn't mess that up. So let me find the applause button. I need a condescending applause. Do we have one of those? That doesn't really work, but we'll just go with it. Yeah, there's not a lot to say about this race. Actually, when I was sitting down doing some studying for this show, I watched the highlights, and the main points...
How long was that?
About 6 minutes, actually.
Wow.
The main points were the start, replay of the start, Hamilton's pit stop, the Toro Rosso's fighting for 15th, because there probably wasn't anything else going on at that point. Ricciardo running off the track and getting his penalties. The Haas retiring. Hamilton wins. That was the video. Guys, I try to keep I like to say this before we get into any Formula One conversation. I am a huge Lewis Hamilton fan. Look up a picture of him, then look at me. Do the math. I am very excited that we have a black race car driver doing extremely well. Gonna just put that out there. However, I wish he was doing it to get some actual competition. Like, this has not been fun for any of us.
But what does it say, I think, in the irony that, especially in Europe, this is considered the best racing, the best tier in the world for all of motorsports. And literally no one can get close to Hamilton except for his teammate. And I'm pretty sure that's only because they probably play rock, paper, scissors before the start of the race to decide who actually finishes on top of the podium. Like, I honestly think that's it. Like, I think that every so often, Hamilton just gives one to Bottas. I'm pretty sure he's like, you know what? You won when we played blackjack last night, so you know what? I'll give this to you. You got this one. Like, honestly, like, what else? Like, it's so, like, it's like, I'm going to use Giannis and Leonard and LeBron, like the three of them on its tri-team and in basketball, and they're literally playing three miniature, like, elves. Like, that's the equivalent in this series. Like, there's them and then literally nobody else, like, for 800 feet. And then you got down on the bottom, there's these little tiny people, and they're going to play too.
Boy, you can really turn an analogy.
Yes.
I just
I mean, it's like the
it didn't even make much sense, but
it's like the New England.
It's comical though. Like, Formula One is absolutely comical at this point.
It's like the New England Patriots are suiting up to play the Washington Valor of the Arena Football League. That's how bad it is right now. There's just no competition, and it's been like this for 8 weeks. Yes, we've had versions of this in past seasons, but at least Ferrari acted like they were a challenge, even if they weren't a challenge. I mean, last year, I really thought at points last season, Ferrari was actually going to pull away with this thing, and Sebastian Vettel was going to get the 5th championship. Of course, we know how that turned out when we flipped over to Spa.
The video of him running and then Hamilton on a scooter.
Yeah, we saw
That's
him
what it
to him.
turned out to be.
Yeah, we saw him to him in Germany, and everything just falls apart after that. But this year, we didn't even get to Germany. And this thing is over me. Matt, do you see any realistic shot that Ferrari gets back into this at this point?
No, I don't. No, I don't. It's really depressing, isn't it? Especially, me speaking as a lifelong Ferrari supporter. This is beyond my comprehension. I mean, we're sitting here with Mercedes on 338 constructor points and Ferrari at 198. I'm no math major. That's 140 points. We've had 8 Grand Prix. Mercedes has won 8. 15 Mercedes podiums to 7 for Ferrari to 2 for Red Bull, and that is it. Not a McLaren podium, Renault, Racing Point, Alfa Romeo. It seemed as if, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just misremembering, but it seems to me like in the 90s and 2000s, every now and again you could get a surprising podium from a team that back then was equivalent to what is now Racing Point or Alfa Romeo. We can't even get that. The midfield is closer together this year. It really is. The midfield is putting on a terrific battle each and every race. But it's up front where you want to see the battling, and we are not seeing it. I gotta say, I can't even conjure up memories in my mind this year where the Mercedes have been close to each other fighting for the win. I mean, they've been a pretty good ways apart, haven't they? Am I forgetting something on that?
I mean, it hasn't been 2014, 2015 when Hamilton and Rosberg were running each other off the road, quite literally. So it hasn't been like that. It's pretty much been formation flying with Hamilton out front and Valtteri Bottas trailing, or Bottas way out front and Hamilton trailing, holding down the rear trail position. It has not been exciting at the front at all, because you turn on the race knowing who's going to win. I mean, at least at Bahrain earlier this season, that's the one race where Mercedes looked like they were out to lunch, because Charles Leclerc was whipping the field's tail, and if it wasn't for the turbo going away, would have won the Bahrain Grand Prix. But the turbo went away. His teammate, once again, fell to his main championship rival. And at this point, Vettel is out to lunch on trying to catch Hamilton. Hamilton's got his number. That book is closed. If that race goes differently, maybe we're sitting here with a little spark of hope. Maybe we're thinking that Bahrain form will come back. But now, after seeing what the season has become, this is probably only going to get worse before it gets better, even with the teams trying to get the 2018 tires back, which, newsflash, I don't see that helping, because guess who won the 2018 Drivers and Constructors Championships? Y'all can answer that, by the way. I probably should have left that out there.
I will add one thing. I don't know, just because I find it amusing, and I had it as a note for the show tonight. But, so, obviously, good old Mercedes is walking away with this. As of now, for back-to-back, Mercedes has won 10 races in a row. So, all 8 this year and the last 2 of last season. So, ironically, if they win one more race, they tie for the longest streak won by a team, because the all-time best is held by McLaren, and it was like over 30 years ago. Yeah, because it was I'm looking at my info. In 1988, they won 11 races in a row, so Mercedes can actually tie and then best said record in the next 2 races.
And we know they're going to do it.
What I think is amusing about all of this is that when Hamilton was asked about it, he goes, "It is not anywhere near the top 50 of the list of priorities for me on the race weekend." Like, not even the top 50. Like, I want to know what, like, number 47 on his list of priorities is now. Like,
I do too.
I want to know what number
is impressive.
I want to know what 49 is.
Right, or even 50 at this rate.
And I mean, they almost broke the record for most 1-2 starts in a season. Remember, they had that chance at Monaco, but Vettel broke that up.
Yeah.
So 11 will tie it. 12 would beat it.
I mean, yep. I honestly do try to keep my complaining as little as possible because, you know, I like to enjoy things and I like to enjoy watching motor racing. But honestly, it has gotten more predictable than watching a UConn women's basketball game. It really has. It honestly and truly has.
Speaking of UConn, I want to pivot quickly. Shout out to that team that got destroyed by them in the playoff in the NCAA tournament, but what was that, 50 or 60 points a few years ago?
Which one?
The most recent one. I have to go look it up. That one was rough.
Yeah, those 4 teams. Oh, yeah, boy.
That poor 16 seed. I'll look it up later because I don't remember the team off the top of my head, but the way that team got rocked is how the F1 world is getting rocked. And, of course, when this starts happening, I mean, it's gotten to the point where Lewis Hamilton has come out and saying, look, this isn't fun. We got to do something about this, which, you know, it's bad when the team that's doing the dominating says we don't like doing the dominating. So it always comes back to, well, how do we fix it? And as we were talking about in the beginning, it's not a simple fix, or we would have done it already.
I don't know how you fix it. I honestly, you could give me a week to sit and think on this. I'm not totally sure what you do first, what you do second, how many steps this process is. I honestly don't, because it's gotten out of hand so much. And I don't know. I am open for suggestions. Lord knows.
I'm just gonna jump in here. Michael here. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
To continue the topic, to fix F1, you have to look at what's wrong first. Like, you got to look at the engine first, and then you got to realize, well, the engine is to this, that, the other, and then I feel like the cars are too aero dependable, so I'm thinking maybe make them more mechanical dependable, and then you got to think about this, that, or the other. It's kind of years and years and years of making this current F1 car, and then you got to think about undoing that, and it's going to take time. And I think what needs to happen is to start thinking about not making them faster, but making them more racy. Kind of like what IndyCar does, if I'm making any sense.
So we need lingerie for Formula One. Got it.
Please no.
Oh, not that kind of racy. I'm sorry.
We just dealt with the Grid Girl controversy. Let's not bring that back into the public consciousness.
I'm bored. Leave me alone.
But I think F1 needs to think about what made better racing.
I like how he laughs at me.
Just mute me.
Hold on, guys. Michael, finish your point.
But I was just saying, it's kind of like how everyone wants NASCAR to be more racy, and then they tried to make it more racy, and then it's like they moved a step in the right direction, but they want more in the right direction. So I think they have to look back at what made F1 interesting. I know people want the V8s back, not the V8s, but the V10s. I want the V8s back. I personally want the V8s back, but
that whine. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that whine. Oh my goodness, it sounded like the angels of death coming to just scream at your worst enemy. Oh, I loved it.
Well, we could get that back, just yank the turbos off the V6s, and I think we'd get that whine back, because those previous engines were NA after all, so we get the natural aspiration back. That might help, but then again, even with the engines, can you convince them to go back to V8? Can you get them to do it without the turbo on there? And simplify them a little bit?
Aren't they going to be more expensive? Like, F1 teams are saying we want F1 to be less expensive, not more expensive. So it's just like, it's tough to find the balance of what the teams want, what the fans want, and what's gonna make sure we can all pay for all of this.
Well, I swung this idea earlier, and I posted it in our group chat. Do you think it would help if maybe we open it back up to having the teams that are manufacturers that are outside Formula One that might not have teams have the ability to build engines and cars again to try and save these teams, let's be honest, a lot of money, because it costs a lot of money to build one of these things from scratch and race it.
On a weekly, monthly basis, it costs a lot, so it's difficult to think. I have to think about it, honestly. Anybody else want to take a stab at this?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm throwing my hands up in the air and say I don't know what to do. I honestly don't. Because to me, there's too many issues to even try to put your finger on one and say this is where we can start. I honestly don't know.
I think until you cap the financial aspect on teams, I think this will always be how it is. I think there needs to be a spending cap. Even if you think about it, though, in most major sports, there is a spending cap. You know what I mean? That's why you don't have one team with every single superstar in basketball, because they can't afford it, because you have to have a balance. And right now there isn't a balance, because all it is on the financial aspect of what each team can get. And Mercedes is the Niagara Falls compared to some of these other ones that are barely a trickle, unless it's a sunny day and then there's nothing there, and then it's just a complete drought. And so I think until you find a way to put a cap on the expenditure that these teams are doing, I don't see this changing, in my own opinion.
Let me ask this question. Sorry, Daryl. Would you guys think about a IMSA/WEC type of balance of performance?
No. Let's not open up that can of worms, because they can't get that right in IMSA. We saw what happened to Aston, or not IMSA, in WEC. We saw what happened to Aston Martin at Le Mans. They qualified on the pole, then they just nerfed that car to irrelevance. So I don't think balance of performance works in theory, but in practice, there's way more chances to overburden a successful car than it is to bring the less successful cars up to competitiveness. And in F1, where there's a whole lot of politicking, I mean, even more than WEC, this just has a recipe for disaster written all over it.
But also, I'm just saying put a cap on it. So say, like, each team can only spend at most, I don't know, $6 million in a season. I'm not saying how you can spend it. You could spend it all in very different ways. But I'm just saying, I feel like unless you do some kind of cap, I don't think it's going to change. Because then really your more dramatic aspect of all of this, like if you really just wanted it to be straight out the gate, everybody, whatever, to make it an even playing field, and that way it's coming down to truly drivers' talent. I mean, at that point, you're almost just removing everything but the namesake of a team, and you're just coming out with standardized cars. Like, you get this car, you get this car, you get this car, you get this car. Like, they're right off the line. There you go. This is what you have to work with. And then small tweaks from there. Like, unless you're going to do something completely standardized, like dealership parking lot kind of effect, like, to me, those are your only two options. You can either cap the money, or Formula One literally makes their own cars and engines, hands them out like a participation trophy, and then if you want to modify that trophy, have at her within the rule aspect, but everything is standard. Like,
So-
to me, those are your only options then.
So basically make it F2, which has had some of the best racing on the
Yes.
weekend.
Yeah, it's F2 on Super Formula, which is pretty good. If anybody hasn't watched it.
Oh, and F2's been
So-
amazing. F2's been amazing this season.
It just doesn't get as much attention, unfortunately.
No.
So I'm just saying, to me, those are the only two options I can see going forward. If you want to create some kind of actual competition in this across the board, you have to do something like that. One or the other. Pick one. But, like, to me, you have the red pill and the blue pill, and you got to take one of them. Just depends on if you want the girl in the red dress or not.
Oh,
Well, before we close out, there's a individual that a lot of F1 fans will know and have opinions about, let's say. I'm talking, of course, about Bernie Ecclestone, as someone dug him out of wherever he's been hiding to comment on the current situation, how he would fix F1.
Somebody
Well,
beat this man Rutherford again?
Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for this one. His grand idea is to basically just drop the pretense, the pretense of it being a two-class championship, and literally make F1 a two-tier championship with a constructor's title for the manufacturer teams and a team's title for the privateer teams.
So he wants an actual participation award.
Basically.
This man wants multi-class F1.
That's basically what he said. Now, look, I know they do this in GT3 with the Pro-Am, and the Am class and the Silver Cup in Blanc Pond. This ain't GT3, Bernie. This is Formula One, the series you kind of ran into the ground, sir.
So let's put all the F1 cars, all the F2 cars, all the F3, and then Formula Renault, and like put them all on the track and see.
You know what? I might actually be down for that. That would at least make the races exciting.
24 hours of Monaco.
oh God.
God.
I mean, you know me, I'm here for any kind of long distance racing, so
It's a wild idea, but when you think about it, you're like, I kind of want to see this now.
just like how I think that the Coke 600 should be the Coke 1000. Like, literally, just
Lord.
give it to me.
Oh, Lord, no.
Basically,
Unless it's on the Roval.
Yeah, we
Stop with the damn Roval.
I will
Burn
not stop with
a
the Roval.
Fiery death.
No.
Hold on.
No. What are you?
Didn't we all
thing.
agree that the Roval
Can
was like,
suck a dick.
the
Oh
Roval
my
last
goodness.
year was like
We
actually
need the explicit tag.
Well, I'm gonna have to go back and retroactively put it now. But
I swear, we all thought it was an enjoyable race. Well, at least I
No,
thought.
it was
It
not.
was, it was a very enjoyable race with what I call.
What? While you're snorting cocaine down the line? Where is this enjoyable?
It was very
Okay.
enjoyable, and as
Give me some shrooms and maybe a thing of LSD, and then maybe
And-
I will agree.
Okay,
And-
first
maybe
we here
Maybe-
at IE Sports Radio do not endorse the ingestion of shrooms. Thank you.
okay, we have gotten.
maybe I
You only did it for the shrooms.
but
Like, that was the only
maybe
thing.
maybe I was caught up in the moment, but I called it the greatest finish in NASCAR history.
Oh my god.
I wouldn't say
I'm
that far.
Oh, I'm hanging up now. Bye.
Well, I mean,
can't.
could you name me a wilder, more dramatic, and more unpredictable finish in the history of the
Darlington
sport?
2000.
yes.
The
But
70.
did Darlington? But hold up.
500 with
Hold up. Did
the
any
camera
of those
finish.
races? Did any of those races then also have a finish where an accident happened at 25th and somehow allowed a driver to advance into the next round of the playoffs by picking up that one spot?
Well, we didn't have
Well, how
playoffs
many?
until 2004.
Yes. Again, this would be the Boyer spin. It's Spingate. Like, there's exciting. We need some dramatics with the playoffs. There's another one.
79,500, y'all. And there's a fight. I mean, there's no more iconic finish in NASCAR than that. But we're digressing way too far at this point.
I would rather Lewis Hamilton win the next 17 Formula One races.
I'm gonna need you to stop.
Than have
another
road race.
Are you on your shrooms?
Well, I will close out by saying, unfortunately, you might get your wish the way this season has been going. I got to get through these points so we can go to break.
I don't know. This is pretty entertaining. Maybe I should just argue against everything because this is pretty fun.
All right, so Lewis Hamilton's got 187 points. He's in first. He's probably going to finish in first, unfortunately. Bottas 151, Vettel 111, Verstappen 100, and Charles Leclerc at 87. In the teams, well, I ain't even got to tell you who's winning, so we'll just go from second on down. Ferrari 198, Red Bull Racing Honda 137, McLaren Renault 40, Renault 32, Racing Point, Alfa Romeo, Scuderia, Toro Rosso, Honda, Haas, who's having their worst season to date, and poor Williams in 10th. I just want to give Claire Williams a hug just from watching that episode of her on F1 Drive to Survive. She just looks so done with all of this, and I know a lot of us are as well. Oh, and big shout out to Wellington Sports Radio who's watching, and we'll actually get to that question when we come back. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
F1.
Two Wheels Wednesday is the place to come for all your motorcycle sports news every Wednesday on IE Sports Radio with myself, Matt White. All the latest news, rumours, race reviews and previews from World and British Superbikes and the big one, MotoGP. Two Wheels Wednesday, every Wednesday on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
What up, all you boxing fans? This is Vince Wright, the sports governor, and me and Gilbert Batista are the host of Ringside on IE Sports Radio. Make sure you keep it tuned to IE Sports Radio, Spreaker.com for the latest edition of Ringside. All the boxing news you need right here. Keep it tuned, Spreaker.com, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, IE Sports Radio proudly brings to you its intergender tag team champions of the world. Yes, I am Martin Sandoval. My co-host is Felicia, and we are the hosts of The Gorilla Position, live Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. We bring to you all the latest in news and rumors and opinions and perspectives on the world of professional wrestling. We bring you guys the latest in WWE, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and including independent wrestling such as Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and here VIP Wrestling live from Texas. Yes, it is the Gorilla Position with myself, Martin Sandoval, and my co-host Felicia, live on Spreaker.com and on iTunes.
Oh, I do too. I do miss IROC.
And we are back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And during the break, you missed us reminiscing about IROC. But before I get to that, I just want to welcome in all our people, all our new fans.
All you missed. That was it. Nothing.
I want to welcome
happened.
in our new fans that are watching or listening to this rather on YouTube. And I want to put out a big shout out to everyone that has been helping out IE Sports Radio over the past 5 years. We are growing in leaps and bounds, and we have something special coming down the pipe here in just a few weeks. I'll let you know when that comes up, but the hardest working man in IE Sports Radio, I like to call him, Mr. Larry B, has got something cooking, and I cannot wait to see the finished product. So, before we continue with the show and get into the topic we're going to talk about, I actually want to hit this one that we were talking about during the break. We were talking about the Roval situation. I want to touch on this as briefly as possible.
Real quick here. Do you agree that the Nürburgring should be called the Nerd?
I don't even know what that means.
It's such a better name. Like, everybody's like, oh, at the ring. And I'm like, or at the Nerve would be so much cooler. Like, that would be a much cooler shirt.
I'm just going to leave
I'm just
Caitlin.
saying, it would. Like, I would wear that on a t-shirt. Nobody wants the ring. Then I just think of the horror movie.
I'm going to just leave Caitlin to that one. We were talking about the Roval situation in NASCAR, which created a spirited debate, and I got to thinking, well, if NASCAR wanted to make a Roval so dang bad, why didn't we go to Daytona, who has a purpose-built Roval for this point? And then Matthew brought up the 2005 IROC race.
I still stand by it.
Then I gotta say, you kind of have a point, but I think that race may have been better with stock cars than what IROC was at that point, to be honest, because IROC was on its last legs, and so was kind of ARCA at this point, but that's a story for another day. Shout out to the 18 cars racing at Chicagoland this evening in ARCA, by the way.
Yeah. I loved IROC. I would love to have IROC back.
IROC rocked.
It did. It really did. But to me, if you want to make a Roval, which I know some of us here hate that word, don't do it at
one person hates
if
that
you
word.
if you are going to do it at Daytona, just don't take a super speedway race away from us, because we only get 4 here, and I know some people don't like them, but we can't deny it's one of the closest races we get.
It's not that I don't
year.
like them. I just think at this point with these cars and these drivers, it's just not nearly as exciting. But I'm not saying I completely respect the history behind Daytona. Like, Daytona 500, absolutely. The 4th of July weekend Daytona, 100 billion%. Like, I still can't believe they're taking that away next year. I think it's an idiotic choice.
Yes, it is.
I think keep those two. Take away, if we have to take away a restrictor plate racetrack, then I would take one away from Dega. And again, because the thing is that in the playoffs we could do that, because to me it's stupid. It's like there's no, like, it's stupid having a restrictor plated race it's literally the stupidest race, because you just watch everybody play really, really, really safe. except for like your really crappy cars because they don't give a shit. But other than that, everybody just plays it really safe. And it's like wearing 18 condoms. It's unnecessary at that point and no fun.
Your analogies are amazing.
Personally, I would disagree because Daryl, we called that Talladega race earlier this year together, didn't we? To me, it's one of the most entertaining races that we have each year.
Talladega.
Yes, one would be great, but I'm just saying the second one in the playoffs is stupid. Or we can leave it. I don't care if we have to have 2, fine. But then at that point, I will happily take away the Roval at Charlotte and give it to the road course / track race at Daytona. That would be entertaining.
Here's what I will say. The Talladega race we did call was amazing, except for I was about ready to strangle the world feed director about 15 laps into that race, and Matt knows why.
There's 18 condoms. Are you trying to have the Great Wall of China around? You know what?
I have to clip that. I have to clip that for the end.
Now all of China knows you're here.
This is mental
Nobody's
note.
going to know you're there at that point. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
Goodness. Mental note to Daryl in the future. Clip that for the end of the year show. Oh, good. Okay, let me try to get us back to where I was going. But, oh, right, I remember. The non-playoff Talladega race is always exciting. But with the way the playoffs are set up now, that playoff race is either going to be really exciting or really dull. And rarely do we get both. Or rarely do we get something in the middle. So I could see removing that race for a Roval, or heck, put Daytona at the end. Let's start the season at Daytona. Let's end the regular season at Daytona. Let's end the season at Daytona on the Roval. Just for this Daytona circle.
I would accept that. I would happily open my loving arms and accept that.
Wellington Sports Radio. This show is sponsored by the number 18. Yeah, we're definitely gonna.
And Trojan.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna need that explicit tag at the end of this one. But okay, let's get into IndyCar real quick. The Rev
the
Group,
Magnum no PI.
The Rev Group Grand Prix at Road America.
Oh my God.
I want to make that segue, but I'm not going to make that segue. Alexander Rossi.
This is the best time for slide job if I ever heard one.
Please,
What?
please.
Okay, so
Oh my
Alexander
God,
Rossi.
please, Road America.
Alexander Rossi completely obliterated the field on Sunday, starting second, led all but about one lap as Graham Rahal led on the 42nd lap, probably due to a pit stop strategy or something, because Rossi led 50. He led 54 of 55 laps. He said at the beginning of the race he was tired of finishing second. Well, you can't finish second if you lead all the laps now, can you? That was an impressive showing by Rossi.
Him to win, and I was so proud of this
I did too.
moment.
I did too. Oh my gosh.
Because that was really my thinking before even before he'd said it, because we didn't have the show, so we had to pick early or pick off air, and I was just like, dude's only one run race this year, and he has been hungry. And I was like, yeah.
Well,
you can eat more than just cheese curds in Wisconsin.
To me, what I loved about Alexander Rossi and why I picked him to win the race, qualified second, and Colton Herta, I mean, we all know how talented he is as a rookie. He was on the pole, and it just seemed almost too easy to think they're going to head down that long main straightaway and go into basically a 90-degree right-hander. Rossi's going to pile drive it in. He's going to take advantage of the young rookie here. Thank you, Caitlin. He's going to take advantage of the young rookie here. He's going to get by him, and he's going to set sail, and he's going to dominate the race, and he did. And
so
God, for heaven's sakes, can we please move on?
I'm sorry. This will be the last one.
Hot in here. Okay.
I'm just going to bite the bullet on this one. Would he use one of those Trojans during that move, Matt?
To pile drive, I would hope so.
He was very unprotected when he went into that corner.
And now somebody's pregnant, and we wonder why.
Let me stop before I get thrown off the broadcast this Sunday. So Alexander Rossi...
Oh, this is great. This is my favorite show. So
Alexander Rossi ran away with it. He closed up the points lead between him and Joseph Newgarden. And Newgarden leads 402 to 395. But guys, you got to say, Rossi, as we start the second half of the season, not only has he made his announcement that I'm not going away, he made an announcement that I'm not finishing second anymore in the races, and I'm dang sure ain't finishing second anymore when it comes to the championship.
Well, I loved that aggression about him, and I think it's one of those things that even got my attention about Rossi in the beginning, because I did realize he was such a dark horse when he first came into this, and I appreciated that about him because he was a little bit more edgier, and like, I don't know, and as somebody who is a Newgarden fan, like, and I'm wholly a Rossi fan now too, and I like this contrast we get, and I just like. See, it's not just me anymore. I'm enjoying this. This literally is the best show in the world.
Sorry, Michael. Michael was showing us something in the group chat. Give me a second. Continue, Lee.
Shoot.
Oh, goodness. Continue, Caitlin.
Now I got to go over to the Skype, apparently. Anyway, but it's like that thing where now I literally don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm just happy for it, and I think that this was a really good play by Rossi. I always appreciate when there's a team, and I guess that's probably one of the little things that I appreciate about Lewis Hamilton too, is that when you're completely annihilating somebody and you're like, I'm going to do it anyway. Like, everybody's like, no, just show some mercy, and you go, no. Like, to me, that is appreciative. Like, I enjoy those moments as much as I hate those moments, and I think that Rossi really laid it into everybody's heads this past weekend that, you know what, I want this more than you do, so you can just enjoy it while I kill you. And I think he will be a very, I don't know. To me, he has the championship this year. I don't see him backing down for nothing.
I'm with you.
So
there are no kids listening to this show. Are you kidding me? But
I don't think any kids are listening at this point.
Safe sex is important.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And if there are kids listening, well, you just got a impromptu biology lesson. Anyway, Colton Herta, he had a good run, even though he didn't really lead a lap. He finished 8th. Got into a couple of scrums on the track. One of those was with Simon Pagenaud, where he won IndyCar Radio Darling of the Week with a radio call, which was basically just one long press of the expletive button by whoever had the unfortunate task of editing it. And I've got to find it so y'all can actually understand what I'm talking about. But what did you guys think of the rookie's performance on Sunday? Oh, now we want to not talk.
Yeah. Everyone's... See, I feel like I'm talking too much.
I think his performance was great before, these two dirty-minded people start talking. I think his performance was great. I think he did some amazing overtakes, and I hope he continues with his performance this year and into next year.
Okay, I got it. This is the radio transmission that IndyCar posted up as one of their highlights today. You can find this on their Facebook page. And this is Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, and Paul Tracy on the call. And this is the interaction between Simon Pagenaud and Colton Herta. Listen to this.
Pagenaud sees it, makes him go to the outside, and he's deep on the brakes, and turns in on him, and they make big contact.
10-4, we'll just set sights on the 9 and the 10 and got back around you. You're still doing well.
Wow.
My best part, my favorite part of that, by the way, is it comes on and it's just beep, 10-4, focus on the 9 and the 10 they got around you.
I feel like somebody not looking at their TV in that moment would think it went to that test screen.
That's actually what I posted on it when I'm like, this is a test of the emergency alert system.
Great minds think alike.
Colton was hot, but he is Colton was hot, but he had a good day. I know the tire strategy didn't work out for him, but a top 10 after the murderer's row of races he has had over the past month or so, starting with that Indy 500 that Matt and I also called, where 5 laps in, the transmission breaks. And we had such a good qualifying day. You know, after that gut punch, to come out of this race with a top 10, with everything he ran into, that had to feel like a victory for the kid.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. And, you know, I know a lot of people are still saying, well, his win at Circuit of the Americas in Austin was, you know, it was pure dumb luck and it was all of this. I'm not here for that. He is still, no matter where you fall on that victory, one, he still has the trophy and he's not giving it away. And two, he has been the most impressive rookie in the IndyCar series that I've seen in quite some time. I really do believe that. I don't even think you can say that Rossi was this impressive in his rookie year despite winning the 500.
No, Rossi had a good rookie season. That Indy 500 victory literally came out of nowhere, and I'm still impressed by it to this day. But no, Colton has had such a good season. He has not been afraid to get his elbows out and jump in there with the veterans and show, hey, I belong here as well. Now, he's had 5 DNFs, 4 of them because the car fell apart on him. He only had one real crash. That was at Texas. But he's been having a really good year, and he'd be up there in the Rookie of the Year battle with our friend Santino if it wasn't for those issues. But for your update on him, he finished 19th.
Our friend Santino.
Yeah, I use the term friend loosely there.
A little facetious out of you, I see.
Yeah, just a little bit. And we only had one retirement in the race. That was, poor Marco. It has not been his career.
Life.
Yeah. It hasn't been his month, his day, or his year. Multiple years at this point. And unfortunately,
it's like that Friends theme song.
Yep.
You know, when it hasn't been your day, your week, or month, or even your year. There you go.
Although the only thing that will be here for him in this situation will be the crippling disappointment of yet another DNF. And it's hard to say what can be done for Marco with his career. Some would say he needed a change of scenery. That was about 8-10 years too late. I don't know what he can do at this point other than, I don't know, maybe something will click. I mean, Graham has started to find some success. He finished 4th this year, but it's been a struggle for Marco. It really has.
Maybe he should try F1.
Oh God!
I heard that the Grosjean spot could be open here soon.
His father tried his skill in F1 too. We all seen how that went.
Yeah, but look at it. Could be the opposite effect, though. You know what I mean? Because clearly he doesn't have success in IndyCar. So maybe
she said effect. She said effect.
No. I just want her to sit and think about this for a second.
What am I thinking about?
Think about it. Well, first, he doesn't even have the super. I don't even know if he has the super license points.
Exactly, and it's Marco.
That can always be smudged. Really, guys? Is that the politics we're concerned about?
Well, you can't smudge the. I don't want to say lack of talent. I want to be nice. The bad luck he's had over the past few years.
I'm just saying he might be able to. I think he would do better than Grosjean. I'm just saying.
Are we sure about that? Come on.
Are you sure about that?
Yes,
seriously.
I am.
Why?
Oh, come on.
Okay, hold on. I have to read this.
No. We're not moving on. We're debating on
Who's had more DNFs, Grosjean or Marco Andretti?
Let's
take a look.
Marco.
Are we sure?
I would just about be willing to put some money on that.
Be ready. I'm looking. All right, Google, don't let me down.
The only thing I will say is Marco has not been suspended for wiping out half the field in the first lap. I will say that.
Yeah, but he has wiped out the field
I will say,
in the first
Marco
lap.
has not blamed the driver who was 15 miles away when he spun out.
I love that is still a F1 meme like 3 years after the fact, by the way. Oh,
No,
goodness.
Who's gonna forget? I will never forget that.
He's a Erickson hit us. Erickson's not even in the same corner. What? Like what?
I will never forget that.
Also, Wellington
God.
Sports. I have to read this. I'm sorry. I have to read this.
Oh, our friend Pierre. Hey, Pierre.
Pierre at
Hi.
Wellington Sports Radio. Not finishing can be a bad thing on multiple fronts. Badum-tis. No, wait, do we have a soundbite?
All
for
the.
that? No, we do not have a badum-tis. Oh. Yeah, that is, it's unfortunate for Marco. And I hope he gets better, but I don't know at this point.
And we're
I don't think
hoping
a lot of
against
people-
hope. We're hoping against hope.
I am an eternal optimist, okay?
Well,
You're
glad
not an
you are.
internal optimist. You're the one who's saying no. Hold on. First
mean,
up, I
I'm
want to take
really
a
glad
second. We got a new person in the chat here.
Uh-oh.
Where
Why
my
are we
girl at?
uh-ohing?
Lita!
Hey.
Oh, it's a full house
A
now.
new challenge.
Oh, yes, it is. All right, Lita, we were just getting off subject here. We're going to pull it back
Per
in.
usual.
Yep.
Oh,
But
no,
we
no,
were
no, no, hold
discussing Marco Andretti.
Oh, no.
Poor little baby. And I said, because they were all like, we don't know what to do with his career. And I said, maybe he should go over to Formula One because Grosjean's spot's going to be open soon enough anyway. And we're having this lovely debate about who is actually the better of the two. And apparently I'm the only one who thinks Marco would do a little bit better than Grosjean.
Oh, jeez.
You know, at least Marco finishes races.
Thank you! See, at least he knows how to finish. That's what she said.
Oh.
Oh.
And this continues on.
Oh, yeah, Lita, you have missed probably the raunchiest 15 minutes in this show's history.
Oh,
By the way, I'm sitting with
I think I gained us
Hold
a
on,
new
hold on, hold on, hold
sponsor.
on.
I'm just saying.
Hold on.
I'm sitting with my friends who, you know, one is expecting, the other one just had a foster child come in that was like 5 months old. I'm like holding
Aw.
it, and it's small. And meanwhile, I'm watching Caitlin text me all of the films that she's saying. I was like, this is an amazing family experience right now. Good thing this baby is sleeping. Yeah,
That's right.
So, great. By the way, happy birthday, Kyle. Not that he listens to the show, but it is his birthday, so I'll put
Happy
it out there. But
birthday!
32 is awesome. Anyways, so going back to the Marco Grosjean thing. I mean, yes, Marco is doing doesn't have much going for him. Although at some point, I think he was like running in the top 10 in the IndyCar Championship last year, which was mind-blowing in itself. There's been improvement, but again, he actually finishes races. It may not be always he's been kind of sneaking in a couple top 10s, but he's finishing them, and he's not bitching and moaning on the radio. And this is from a guy who, like, his daddy owns the team, and his grandpa's a racing legend, so, like, you would expect that from the kid. It's like, oh, well, he just has racing, so he's just going to whine about it. And he doesn't. But you have Grosjean over here that's just, like, bitching and moaning every single race we get into. And
He whines so much they make him not finish the race.
They literally just pull him out because they're like, we don't want to listen to this anymore. Like, and I think he's got, 1 point for the season? One.
and that might still be more than Marco.
Whoa.
This is why I brought Lita into this conversation.
I mean, honestly, I'm trying to imagine Marco Andretti on a Formula One grid, and every other driver on that start grid would be sweating more than Michael Vick at the Westminster Dog Show because they'd be scared for their lives.
Right, which is perfect because look at all those people that he will overtake then. Because
Hold
they're
on,
all so
hold on,
nervous.
hold
He'll
on,
just
hold
die.
22 drivers that normally race like the IndyCar races right now. Marco is running 16th and has 174 points. Okay? 174 points.
Hold on, would they really be sweating when they suffered through the concentrated chaos that was Pastor Maldonado on an F1 grid?
I mean, that's fair.
Still don't know how that guy won the Spanish Grand Prix, by the way.
All right, let us look and see. Oh, he's not even in the top 12. Sorry. I want to reconfirm and back this up now. All right, Romain Grosjean stands at number 19, and has, I stand corrected, 2 points.
A whole
No.
2.
The funny part is,
hold on.
Here are the following drivers after him: Mr. Giovinazzi of Alfa Romeo, and it goes without saying it's Williams for the last 2. I can't even.
Yeah, poor George Russell, by the way, in Formula
bless
1.
His heart. Poor Robert Kubica. God, he's so much better than this.
Those drivers did not ask for this.
No, they didn't. No, they
I know,
didn't.
but I mean, in all honesty, if he was in any of those other cars, do you think he'd really be doing like substantially better enough to make even a dent in the top 15? Say
he'd at least
have to be doing a little bit better than this.
He'd have a couple of points at least. I mean, Robert.
I
would
mean,
at least have
maybe
a couple
couple
points.
more over Grosjean.
Yeah, he would at least
There you
have
go.
points.
Ha! There you go. You don't want to go American, so just rescue one of the poor Williams guys.
Kubica would be doing better in the IndyCar series than Marco. Is all I have to say.
A lot of people would be doing better in the IndyCar series than Marco, but that's that's a whole other topic where we could probably take a good hour and discuss the logistics and why we're trying to understand how that all happened and why it is the way it is.
Well, we do have time to fill. We do have time to fill in the summer, so I'm getting ideas for shows we need to do, and I think one of those shows is definitely going to be the 2005 USGP because that dumpster fire just has to be discussed.
Okay, hold on.
Oh,
I just want to point this out that for this year, you ready? Grosjean has DNF'd 5 races so far. How many do you think Marco Andretti has DNF'd this year?
1.
Only 1. He was running at the finish in 9 of the 10 races we've had this year.
And if I remember correctly, it was the last race.
Yep, had a mechanical issue 18 laps in. Was the only DNF of the Rev Group Grand Prix.
You're welcome.
And last year, he only DNF'd in 1, too.
We're clearly in a really good spot. He's clearly in a really good spot if we're crediting him for finishing.
Remember last year, he also...
But we were just saying that he wasn't better than Grosjean. We had to point that out.
Hold on. Let Lita go.
Hold on. But remember here, Marco also somehow got a pole in Detroit last year.
How did
the last
that
time Grosjean
happen?
got a pole? Because it's Detroit and weird shit happens.
Maybe in the morning, but not a good one.
And with that one, we're going to go ahead to the
this
point
episode
standings.
is brought to you by...
I don't think Caitlin can get out of this.
Dirty Thoughts with Caitlin.
This episode is brought...
You guys, you would be running and screaming if you ever got into my brain. You have no idea.
This episode has been brought to you by the number 18. And I'll talk about that on the break.
This show has been brought to you by the number 18, Tylenol, freaking Trojan Man, and Magnum.
All right, so let's go through the top 9 of the points desperately.
My preference.
Joseph Newgarden leads at 402 points. Rossi's got 395. Pagenaud third with 341. 4th through 6. Dixon 308, Power 294, Sato 292. Takuma Sato's having a great year, by the way.
Yes, he is.
Ryan Hunter-Reay 7th, 271. Graham Rahal 244. James Hinchcliffe has 216 points. And who is the highest rookie at the moment? That'll be our dear friend.
Please don't say it's Ferrucci.
It is. He's 12th, 204 points. Herta is 14th with 183.
Light his points on fire so they just disappear.
Yes.
Okay.
But remember,
Everybody's
Dale Jr. loves
Yay.
him. Remember, Dale Jr. loves him, therefore everyone else does too.
Does that qualify when you crisscross motorsports racing series?
It does when you're Dale Earnhardt Jr. and NBC.
Before we let Matt go too far on that particular tangent, we're
I
going to
think
take
if
a
he
break.
ran for president, he'd win.
Oh, God. You know he would.
Now we're definitely going to take a break. No hot
I didn't
laps.
say I'd vote for him.
No hot laps this weekend, so we're going to go straight into our next topic on the other side of the break, which will be NASCAR, and we will be saying goodbye to old DW and one of the originals of the 2001 Fox broadcasting team. On the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
From the home plate to the nets, the end zone to the finish line, here nothing is off limits and no sport is safe. Not what it seems with your host Caitlin Seam, bringing you sports like you've never heard before. Catch me Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on IE Sports Radio. The only question is, are you ready?
Hi everybody, it's Calvin here from USRN, here to give you an important message. Since 2017, we have done our absolute best to provide you with nothing but the highest quality of sports calls in the greatest of quantity possible. Thanks to you, our station has grown more than we ever thought. That's why, with your help, we would like to grow even further. Just think, twice the amount of your favorite calls, 24 hours of coverage, talk shows, play-by-play, game-by-game analysis, and so much more. That's right, USRN2 is officially in development, but we can't do it alone. We have set up a GoFundMe page that you can access from our homepage on the left of your screen. We also are planning special giveaways and prizes to our highest donors. Our goal here at USRN is to bring you the best calls possible at no cost to you. In order to continue to do that, we need your help now. Please check out our GoFundMe page, and if you would like to know how you can help, you can email usrnradio@gmail.com. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
NBA, college basketball fans out there. Tired of hearing about just the dramatic stuff in the basketball world. Tired of hearing about what such and such wore tonight. And not about the game? Hey, leave all of that alone. Because on Wednesday nights, I got this show called Fast Break with Phil Jones here on the IE Sports Radio. And all we talk about is straight basketball, from where it comes down to the NBA, the NCAA, and even the WNBA. I don't discriminate. I give all my NBA, my basketball, whatever you want with sports, to the slam dunks, to the three-pointers, to the teardrops, to the game winners. I'm there. I'm speaking about it. I have a debate. I have my panel. I got a squad that rolls in, and we're going to be talking mad sports. We're going to be talking about the Lakers. We're going to be talking about even the Brooklyn Nets. We're going to be talking about who's the top team out there in the NBA. So, tired of all the drama. Tired of all the... What did he wear today? What kind of shoes he had? Forget all that. Just come over. Fast Break with Phil Jones here on IE Sports Radio every Wednesday night at 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, y'all. So, yo, tune in.
What's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before. You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Good day, folks. Yours truly, Nico Green here, reminding you, tune in to the Neutral Zone Hockey Talk Radio Show, Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, proudly brought to you by IG Sports Radio. It's the Neutral Zone. All hockey, all the time. Take care. See you soon.
Hello, soccer fans. Pierre Moss here with you. I am the host of the Soccer Scoreboard Show right here on IE Sports Radio each and every week. Games and the best action from around the world of soccer. Not only do we have live scores for you, but we also news and all the latest stories from the soccer world right here on the Soccer Scoreboard Show. Come join us each and every week right here on IE Sports Radio.
This is the Extra Mile here on IE Sports Radio, and we are back. And just want to get a quick housekeeping note out of the way before we continue. We will not have a show next week. We will come back the week after. That is July 4th next week. I'm actually heading down to Daytona for the race next Thursday morning. And I know everybody's out going to be doing barbecues, watching fireworks, trying not to get irritated by certain rallies in Washington, the whole 9 yards. And I know a lot of people aren't going to be sitting there and want to listen to the show, and I know my co-hosts don't want to be stuck inside missing all the parties doing the show, so we are not going to have a show July 4th. We will come back that next week. We are getting closer and closer to episode number 100 of the Extra Mile. I cannot believe it's been 100 episodes of this new look Extra Mile already, and I got to thank my co-hosts for joining me. Got to thank Matthew Owens for being here tonight as well, and we're going to get into the NASCAR portion of the show. Before we actually get into the race, I want to talk about something that came up across the feed, and that was a little brief video that that NASCAR did about Wendell Scott and his contribution to NASCAR, which was great. He won one race during the 60s in the heart of racially segregated America in a sport that was made in the Deep South, and the fact that he was able to complete as many races as he was without any harm coming to himself or his family speaks volumes in and of itself. But he did win a race. He got into the Hall of Fame. The video was extremely well done. And then I made the decision to read the comments.
Always a mistake.
Oh, yeah. Big mistake. A lot of people, to keep a long story short, just don't get it. They don't get why Wendell was and why his accomplishment was so important. I know I've said this a couple of times. I'm a black NASCAR fan. There are very few of us. I do realize when I go to a track, there will be probably 10 of us that are not there working. But it's the sport that I love, and I will stay with it for as long as I can. I want to work in it. Maybe try to bring more black people to the sport as well, even with its many faults. But fans, we got to talk about this Wendell Scott thing. He won a race during a time where black people couldn't even sit in the same grandstands as white people. Franklin Scott, one of Wendell's sons, was talking. They were at what remains of 58 Raceway in Virginia, where Wendell made his start in motorsports and really made a name for himself. While, the white fans, they would sit on the front stretch. The black fans had to sit next to a tree on the back stretch. And he talked about how at all the small tracks in America, or all the tracks in the Deep South, there was a colored seating section. Wendell was running with third and fourth hand parts because he couldn't get first or even second use parts from the manufacturers because of his skin color. He had to beg and borrow for a lot of the stuff that he ran with. And for him to win that race, and for him to break a color barrier that we didn't see much movement with until recently, is a huge moment in NASCAR history and deserved enshrinement in the Hall of Fame, even though I didn't think he'd ever get it. And for people to talk down, to say it's pitiful that he only got in with one win, to say it diminishes the NASCAR Hall of Fame, is frankly disgusting and speaks to your ignorance on the subject. And I'll usually, this is in these rants where I raise my voice and I hoop and holler, yell and scream and get my blood pressure up, but I'm not going to do that tonight. We've been having a good time tonight. And all I can say to you is look it up. Go look up some of the stories about what Wendell Scott had to do. Go look up why he had to race with a gun in the dashboard of his car. Okay. Go look up what he had to do to make sure he got to the track on the weekends. Okay. Go look up and read what happened to him the day he won that race and the injustice of that day. And then maybe you will understand why his enshrinement was so important. And if you can come back with that the same callousness, the same ignorance that you displayed while talking about it prior, I can't help you. But if you can come back with a new appreciation for what he went through and what he risked to do what he loved, to put food on the table of his family, then you understand why he deserved to be in that Hall of Fame. And that is all I got to say about that particular situation. I don't know if anybody wants to add about that, but like I said, I'm not going to hoop, holler, yell, and scream or call anybody outside their names because we've been having too much fun on this show, and I will not let it devolve into that. So I'll open the floor for that. If not, we can move on to our next topic of the evening.
I think you handled it very well. And it does seem to be a night for that. I think sometimes people just need to be reminded that we are still human, no matter what you have to go through. And he had to go through something so devastating that it makes you question humanity. And I think that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That they somehow can so ignorantly look away, because that's not how you treat other people. That's not how you should treat other people.
No.
And you know what I mean? And it's one of those things that some people have to deal with this on the daily, every day. And yeah, I think you said it very well. I don't think that there's anything that I can add to it other than what you said. Like you said, to keep it kind of in this realm of not burning it all to the ground kind of thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that some people just really need to educate themselves. That's a very good way to put it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the only thing I can do at this point. Because I'm not going to yell at you, I'm not going to scream at you, I'm not going to curse at you. Just go read what he had to go through.
Yeah, educate yourself. Because, like you said, if at that point you can read that and be educated and say the same things, there's a completely different other level of conversation we need to have, and it involves you being in the dirt.
I mean, that's a disconnect that I'm not even going to try to rectify at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I say so a lot, I just noticed. The race in question on Sunday was the Toyota Save Mart 350 at the Sonoma Raceway, also known as Infineon, also known as Sears Point. That track has gone through a lot of name changes through its history. Martin Truex started 8th, ended up winning the race. Kyle Busch 2nd, a JGR 1-2. In a race that was dominated by the Fords and Toyotas in the top 10, and a big tip of the cap to Matt DiBenedetto, going from 19th to get his career best finish of 4th. There's a lot of stories swirling about his future in this sport, so for him to pull off that 4th place has got a lot riding, or is going to do a lot to help keep him in the Top Flight Series. But this was also the final day of Darrell Waltrip's broadcasting career. He started off with Fox in 2001, has been a mainstay of the 19 years of NASCAR on Fox with Mike Joy and Larry McReynolds. And after Sunday's race, he signed off for the final time. It was an emotional moment for all. When he started out and when Fox started out, they were at the top of their game. With Mike up there and Larry and DW, they were one of the best broadcast teams at the time. I won't say the best of all time, but they were one of the best in that era and definitely one of the top 5 of all time. I will say that. But over the last couple of years, DW, unfortunately, he was starting to slip. He wasn't as sharp as he was before in the first time, and the big part of it was the cars just passed him by. You know, it was getting further and further from when he was last in the car, and a lot of stuff that he was saying was becoming, unfortunately, less and less relevant, and it's culminated on Sunday where he was allowed to bow out gracefully and head on to the next chapter of his life, whether it be in NASCAR or not. I think we'll still see him around, but I mean, what did you guys think of DW, the broadcaster? I mean, he was a great race car driver, NASCAR Hall of Famer, will probably end up in the Hall of Fame the second time for his broadcasting work, but I know a lot of people have, colored his ability by the last few years of him being on the mic.
I enjoyed him in the beginning. Like, when he first became a commentator, it was a lot of fun. It was kind of that cool twist because he was a racer, so you got a little bit more of that in there, which they had done with a couple other people. So in the beginning, it was fun. And, back when he started was, too, in, that peak era of NASCAR, the commentators had their own like souvenir hauler at the racetrack. Like you literally could buy stickers and koozies and all that stuff with boogity 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 literally written on it.
And
like,
Digger.
Yeah, like it was a huge thing, but it was like also a different era back then. And I think he peaked very quickly. I'm one of those people that ended up, even back in college, right, like as soon as they offered being able to listen to the like in-car scanner for races, I'm one of those people that listen to that much more because I got so sick and tired of the commentary. Because very quickly on, yes, it was cool, but one, he was very good at showing favoritism, and two, it turned into this monotonous, like, he just wanted to hear himself talk kind of thing and blame it on age or whatever. But I think at some point you just have to move past that. And, like, he has not been in a car longer than any of us have been alive. And there's this honest disconnect at that point. Like, it works great for, like, this welcome, let's do a throwback at Darlington kind of conversation, or, yeah, we're going to have him on at Daytona because it's cool. But for an every week-to-week commentator, I honestly think you lose it because he has this huge, literal decades disconnect from these race cars. And yes, you're a race car driver, but it's changed so much since he was last in a car that I feel like it was so blatant of a disconnect from them. And so it was literally just like this grandpa telling his kids, back in my day, and it just gets old. And he's old, and to me it was you're losing people at that rate. Because even if I couldn't listen, like I've literally watched more. Like, even if I couldn't listen to a scanner of a race car, I've listened to the races on mute because I don't want to hear them. And like I said, he was great back in the day. I really enjoyed him. But to me, the commentary has gotten to that point where I just couldn't listen to it anymore. I'd rather just watch cars go by quietly.
Could always listen to us on USRN, but that's just
way to plug it right there.
It's just a shameless plug.
That was perfect, actually. I haven't been able to like sit down and watch a race in like over a year, and if I could, I would.
Water with my mic on.
But two, I think that's part of it, and I think that's a good example. And I was actually going to bring that up in the beginning of the show, which connects it to you really well too, Matt. Though, is that like because even like to me, the best race commentary for NASCAR is MRN radio.
Oh God!
Oh, yes. MRN is great.
It's so fun. If they could somehow even get like a quarter of that kind of liveliness out of the TV commentators, I think it would bloom. I honestly do, because it's so exciting. Like, I remember even for the Indy 500, we were sitting in a grass parking lot on our way back to the hotel because I went to the 500 this year. And we're sitting in the grass.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, me and Lita did. We had our little moment there.
Yeah, we went to the Indy 500.
It was great. And we were literally sitting in the parking lot, though, listening to MRN radio for the race, for the beginning of the race. And it's fun. Like, it made sitting in a parking lot of grass worth it because you got to enjoy listening to them, and that you can't say the same thing if you were watching it on TV. You just couldn't. Like, there's just not that energy that they bring. And I don't know if it's the commentators or if it's just this, you have to be more colorful because you're on radio and you don't get to see it.
That's right. That's where that comes into play.
They almost need to treat it like that then.
I have a perfect
because you know what's going on with
example.
everybody. Like that's the best part about radio is they cover everything. Whereas, unless Danica Patrick was racing, you talked about the beginning of the people, and then we'd have the Danica update. And I was like,
here's the thing. The thing is, and of course, the disconnect with TV and radio is, of course, on TV. Alan Bestwick was the best at doing this. Alan Bestwick, when he was on TV, and he was great when he was at MRN2. When he went to TV, he was great at using as little words as possible to push across the point, and then letting the natural sound, which is what you're supposed to do on television, letting the natural sound and the pictures tell the story, the crowd noise, the noise of the cars, and so on. He was great at that. That's what all of the TV announcers are supposed to do. To be a good TV announcer, you're supposed to be able to push your point across as quickly as possible, let the pictures and the natural sound off the TV tell the story. Where on radio, your main purpose is, of course, broadcasting the race to people that are not watching it. So you've got to be as descriptive as possible. And of course, that's what we try to do over at USRN, which is a lot of fun. And I implore everyone, if you get a chance, listen to this Sunday's race on USRN, because we're going to have myself, Daryl, Seth, and Matt White. It's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, beside the point on that, Daryl Waltrip, to me, obviously he was a legend on the racetrack. We know that. You can read off all of his accolades: a 3-time Winston Cup champion, the 1989 winner of the Daytona 500, Southern 500 winner of 1992. He did just about everything you could do on the racetrack, and he was entertaining off the racetrack as well during his racing career. He was called Jaws by Cale Yarborough because he came into the sport and he basically said, when he was known by no one, he came in and said, Richard Petty, David Pearson, Cale Yarborough, these guys, they don't impress me. I can beat them. He went out on the track and he beat them. He backed up his talk. And then, of course, we can talk about what happened at the Winston in 1989 when he was taken out by Rusty Wallace, coming to the white flag. Then all of a sudden he became a crowd favorite, and then made the seamless transition into the broadcast booth. And I just loved him for the energy that he brought and for the dedication that he showed to the sport. And for 19 years, for nearly 2 decades, he stayed in that broadcast booth, and he meshed so well with Mike Joy, the play-by-play guy, of course, and that's what you're supposed – and he meshed well with Larry McReynolds, too. But when it comes to TV, you have to mesh well if you're an analyst with the play-by-play guy, and he did that with Mike Joy so well. And I'll miss Daryl Waltrip so much because he provided so many memories for us, both on the track and behind the microphone.
By the way, where's Alan Bestwick right now, and why is he not doing motorsports anymore?
Don't get me started. Do not get me started. Alan Bestwick is one of the best guys to ever do this in the history of the sport, be it on radio or on television. And for some reason, NBC would rather put Rick Allen up in that booth saying rhombuses instead of bringing out Alan Bestwick. Please.
So the
last time I seen Alan Bestwick, and I'm not even kidding, the last time I seen Alan Bestwick, he was doing play-by-play on ESPN Plus and for the BBC of Wimbledon and the U.S. Open, and he did the Maria Sharapova and Simona Halep match at the U.S. Open, and that's the last I heard of him.
So I probably at this point should not bring up the Bill Weber era of NASCAR and NBC. Then
I would take Bill Weber over Rick Allen. Don't even get me started on that. At least he was entertaining.
I mean, it was funny when he was about to fight Wally Dallenbach on air. You know, that was always entertaining. Oh no, that's a thing. Go look that up on YouTube. Of the satellite. It was at Michigan, and Wally,
that was with Matt Yoakum too.
Yeah, it was Matt Yoakum, Wally Dallenbach, and Bill Weber, and things got heated. So go look that up if you want something to listen to. I think that may have been the same race that Spencer and Kurt Busch got into it.
Let's see. That was the 2006 Michigan race.
Okay, so that was not the Kurt Busch situation.
the second Michigan race of 06 is when that happened. So yeah. Anyway. But, that's my thoughts on Daryl. Let everybody else interject, either about Daryl or the race or however you want to go about. But I just wanted to get my thoughts on Daryl out there.
Pierre actually mentioned Keith Jackson was also awesome at letting the game tell the story. With a TV broadcast, it's far more scripted than radio. Yes, it is. I did a couple of radio broadcasts for Bowie State University, and we had a lot of scripting that we had to do as well to fill out the time because you still had to be talking a little bit. But when it's radio, you just call the game, and it's a lot more fun. I love doing the radio stuff. Love doing it with USRN. I love the opportunities I got at the CIAA tournament. couple of years ago to do that. You know, that all that was a lot of fun, and I like doing it on the radio. And MRN is great, and I don't know if Lita's still here, but another good team, the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
Oh, yeah.
They are terrific.
And they are fantastic. Them, and I even want to shout out the IMSA radio, because I cannot get enough of listening to them, especially if you want a good network to listen to for a 24-hour race. The IMSA radio network is the way to go. And if you have not listened to them, I highly recommend you get on the IMSA schedule and get an idea on when you can listen to that, because it's always good content.
Would anyone like to join us on USRN? Just we could bring this whole crew on USRN for the 24 Hours of Daytona next February. Is everyone up for that?
I would not mind.
I would be. Well, I guess it depends on whether I'm there or not, because I did do it for my 30th birthday and went to the Rolex 24. So I would like to do it again. Maybe make it a thing.
I gotta see what I'm doing as far as class, but as long as I don't have any schoolwork that is blocking me, I would love to actually do at least a portion of the Rolex 24.
Because we've done the Rolex 24 the last 2 years at the network, and I am promising, I made a promise to everyone on Twitter, well, just a week ago or whatever it was, that we will have Le Mans on the network next year. I've got to be able to do Le Mans at least once. So
that'd be
if
great.
anyone wants to join us for Daytona and Le Mans, feel absolutely free.
I am here for this.
Sweet.
I am.
I don't know if I'm allowed to go on there, because then Mike's just going to get mad at me because I'm going to make fun of him about...
You know what? I am here for this completely. And as we get ready to close out the show,
when Mazda breaks down, I'm just going to be like, shut up, Lita.
Dude, you know the best part is the last 2 IMSA races my dad went to, he just sent me pictures, and somehow in each of the pictures it's a Mazda and there's a fire extinguisher or a member of the fire crew that's like, or the fire truck that just happens to be in the photo with it, and it's beautiful every time. Every time. I've refrained from sending them all to you, but I am dying on the inside every time I see it.
So
By the way, thanks, Dad.
I didn't even notice we had actually gone like 6-7 minutes over time, but we've been having so much fun on this episode of The Extra Mile. This 90 minutes just flew on by. So I just want to give everybody a quick update on the NASCAR points as they run, and we'll go by the projected playoff standings right now. Currently, your top 7 seeds, those are everybody that has won, would be Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, and Chase Elliott in that order by wins and playoff points and the like. Then we get to your guys that haven't won. Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch, Kyle Larson. Those guys, I would say, unless there was a disaster, they are pretty much safe to get in the playoffs. That's 7 through 10. Then you've got Alex Bowman, William Byron, Clint Boyer, and Daniel Suarez in 11th through 14th. Those guys are going to want to try to sneak a win here somewhere, because they could end up in trouble if a bunch of guys start rattling off wins here at the end of the season, or the end of the regular season. And Eric Almirola and Ryan Newman, 15th and 16th. And Jimmy Johnson in 17th, first guy out of the playoffs. These 3 drivers, they need to win because they are in the danger zone. And if one guy wins behind them, which, other than Jimmy Johnson, it's Eric Jones, Paul Menard, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chris Buescher, Austin Dillon, guys that, let's be honest, they're going to need a miracle and a half to actually pull off a win, but we have seen stranger things before. They're going to want to get off that bump spot quick, fast, and in a hurry. So that is your current playoff standings. And the NASCAR Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series continues. Going to be the last year we get to say that, unfortunately. This Sunday with the Camping World 400 starting at 3 p.m. for some reason, which you can watch on NBCSN, listen to on MRN, or you can listen to it online on USRN, where myself, Matt White of Two Wheels Wednesday, Matthew Owens of USRN and Seth Eves, also of USRN, will be on the call. So you're going to want to listen to that coming up this weekend. And before we go, I just want to say, Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. And Pierre, thank you so much for joining us in the chat. And yeah, we have got to make it happen for the 24 Hours of Daytona, getting this whole group together.
It'd be fun. It'd really be fun. I can't wait for you to be back with us on Sunday. There's so many storylines abound for this race. You were mentioning the point standings there. It's so crazy how we're down to 10 races left in the regular season. William Byron just finished 19th this past weekend at Sonoma, but because of Chad Knaus' strategy staying out for stage points, he ended up with the 5th most stage points, or the 5th most points of anyone in the race. So, I mean, these stage points are precious, and everyone's trying to get them, and we're down to 10 races left. Johnson's below the cut line, Jones is below the cut line, and my one Matthew McNugget, as I like to call it for you, Eric Jones needs to get going. He's below the cut line. In the last 10 races of the regular season last year, from Chicago to Indianapolis, Jones went on a run where his worst finish in that stretch was 16th, and his average finish was 6.8. If he duplicates that this year, he's probably going to make the playoffs, which probably means Jimmy Johnson is going to be out.
Wouldn't that be a story for Jimmy Johnson to miss the playoffs after he pretty much dominated this era of NASCAR? And it's just, and we talked about a couple of years ago, you don't fall gracefully in motorsports, you fall off a cliff when it is your time. And he has gone off the cliff and is halfway into the canyon at this point.
He had an opportunity
ridiculous
to finish gracefully. He just didn't take the hint.
Jeff Gordon finished gracefully.
He took the hint.
Well, I just wish Jeff he was so close to finishing with the championship, but it's unfortunate. What could have been? What could have been? And Caitlin reminded me, we got to make some picks before we get out of here. Austrian GP is this weekend, as well as the NASCAR race, the Camping World 400. Let's start with F1. I'm just assuming everybody who didn't pick Hamilton last week is going to go Hamilton this week. I'm going to go Bottas just because,
you can't go Hamilton.
Yeah, I can't go Hamilton.
Right. But the rest of us that all picked Bottas last week will just pick Hamilton because at this rate,
I mean, you can pick
what else is there to pick?
I mean, you can pick a Ferrari just to lie to yourself, but
I'm going to lie to myself.
Okay.
Well, I can't pick Hamilton, and I feel like he's the one who's going to win, so picking Bottas is kind of going to be pointless in my opinion, because I think Hamilton's got this one too, especially because he's like, we got to be careful, it's supposed to be really hot, so we don't know what the cars are going to do. And as soon as Mercedes does anything like this, they run away with it. We've seen it happen before. So I can't pick Hamilton because I picked him last weekend and won with him. So I'm actually going to go ahead and pick last year's winner, and I'm going to go with my darling Maximilian.
So much denial.
So much denial. But like I said, I can't pick Hamilton, and I'm pretty sure he's going to win. So literally, why don't I just pick somebody else? So I'm going to pick Maximilian Verstappen.
You can pick Robert Kubica, who is literally at the bottom of the rankings here, and have the same result, which is you ain't going to get a point.
This is very true. This is very true. But like I haven't picked my little bean all year, so I feel like I need to pick him.
You know what? I'm going to change my picks because I'm not going to get a point anyway. I'm going to pick...
Just go as far right as you can.
I'm going to pick George Russell.
Ooh,
Forget it. I'm picking George Russell because I'm not going to score anyway.
Wait. We should discuss this in that. But it would be really funny for nearest the win if instead of concerning yourself about the winner, because at this rate it's just Mercedes, if the rest of the season maybe we pick like
the loser,
the loser, well, no, that's too easy too because it's gonna be a Williams.
Let's pick who's gonna be the best.
For like 11th. We should pick for 11th.
No, 10th because they get a point, so they're the last person, the best of the last.
Well, here's what I would say. I would just say, since there's the big three teams, the top six, just pick who's going to be the best of the rest. I think that's how we should do it, because at least then it would just be more interesting to pick Formula One. So, Matt, when you get back from vacation, also enjoy the British
they call
touring.
It holiday.
Yeah, enjoy your holiday and enjoy the British cycling time trial championships. Actually, it's like 3 a.m. over there, so I hope that you actually enjoyed that. Maybe that is something we could do to really spice up the F1 picks. But Michael, Pierre's going Hamilton as well, by the way. Michael, who are you going with?
I really don't like the fact that in F1 we can really only narrow it down to like only one driver. So I'm gonna rebel against this. I'm gonna pick Leclerc to win the Austrian Grand Prix.
I mean, if you guys have the opportunity to pick Hamilton, you might as well just get the sucker 2 points this week anyways. But if you pick Hamilton...
Exactly. That was my theory.
Wait,
that was my
did all
theory.
of you pick Hamilton last week?
I did.
I picked Hamilton, and so did Lita. I mean, not Lita.
I was going to say that. I know I get to pick Hamilton this week. Ha! Suckers. 2 points for me.
Right.
Matthew, did you pick Hamilton last week?
I took Verstappen last week.
God, all of you are just terrible at this.
Yeah, well, I was hoping, because I could not pick Hamilton last week.
Let's hear. I just pulled it up. Hamilton. Only me and Daryl were the only two that picked Hamilton last weekend.
Probably by virtue of having him available. Go ahead.
Yeah, I could not pick Hamilton last week, so I went with Verstappen, thinking that there might be a little kerfuffle on the start of the race, which there was not. So I'll go with Hamilton this week, because, well, I don't need to provide analysis for my pick, do I?
Not really.
Does anybody really
Hamilton.
need to?
No, we know what it's going to be, unfortunately, so... Hopefully George Russell actually at least scores a point. I'll be happy with that, because I'm not going to score a point.
I think Verstappen has a chance of ending up on the podium, so at least I got that going for me.
Oh, he definitely has a chance to end up on the podium.
He won last year.
I mean, that's why I picked him last week. I was thinking maybe, he'll go full send-in mode and just make a miracle happen.
He has not been a troublemaker much this season.
That is surprising,
I'm both impressed
by the
and
way.
disappointed.
Which, of course, whenever he only spears Ferraris, he never spears Mercedes. Thanks for nothing, Max.
This is why I only call him Maximilian Verstappen and not Maximilian Verstappen-Busch this year, because he hasn't really earned the -Busch this year.
So,
Matt might have missed that. I renamed him last year.
I gotcha. By the way, can I just mention, there is a person named Tim Richmond in the ARCA race. Are you kidding me?
Really?
He is a rookie. He drives a Toyota. His name is Tim Richmond. And we've just had our second caution on lap 9 of the frickin' race.
Oh, there's only 18 of y'all.
And no women.
There's only 18. You know what? Okay, let's pick. Let's go to the race where we can actually vary up the picks. Chicagoland. Let me get the sponsor. The Camping World 400. I'm actually going to take. I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm going to go ahead and take William Byron this week.
Ooh.
I think Hendrick is coming back on the 1.5-mile tracks, and I really think Chad Knaus can uncork one here and strategize that kid into a winning position. And with those cars getting better, I'm telling y'all, Hendrick is coming back, and they're going to rattle off some wins here before the end of the regular season, and I think William Byron gets that train rolling.
Well, he probably is going to qualify well. That's been the MO of Hendrick and that 24 team all year long. So, track position be important. I like the pick.
Michael, who you got?
This is a NASCAR race, right?
Yes.
Yep. Chicagoland. No IndyCar.
Kyle Busch.
Damn it.
Wait. I put Busch. Didn't I put Busch?
No, yeah, you won last weekend with him. You got a point.
Oh, shit.
No one took Truex. Yeah, that's right. No one took Truex because we talked about that on the broadcast.
I'm super proud of this because with the weeks that I think Truex could win, I don't pick him. I don't want to jinx him.
I was going to take Truex. I don't know why I didn't.
Wait. Before we get any further, goodness. I forgot something. I wrote down really cool. I wrote it down because somebody sent it to me. So shout out to my friend Brian for giving me super cool trivia because he knows that I like it. And that sounded weird. And Martin Truex Jr. and Ricky Rudd are the only two drivers to win at Sonoma on both the short layout and the carousel track.
That is correct. And he is just the second driver to win consecutive races at Sonoma. Jeff Gordon, the only one to do that, but Truex still has to win a third straight, which Gordon did from 98 to 2000. He has really become the best road racer in the Cup Series, hasn't he? I mean, he probably should have won the Roval last year. He was running second at Watkins Glen when he ran out of fuel. Of course, he won at Sonoma last year. So his last four road courses have been first, second, a shoulda, coulda, woulda been win, and then another win.
Yep. He's been doing well on the road courses. Lita, who you got?
I'm just going to go with Jimmy Johnson because that sounds like a way to go for some reason. There are no stats to anything that I do with NASCAR. It's just like, I haven't used this driver in a while. Maybe this one. Whatever name comes to me first usually works.
Hey, Johnson has 11 top 10s and 17 career Cup starts at Chicagoland, so that's pretty good.
Boom. There you go. Stats on their side. I didn't even know it.
Yep,
wait, who did Michael end up picking?
Hey, Michael, who did you take?
I don't think he actually made a pick.
I don't think he did either.
Because you can't do Jimmy Johnson.
Kyle Busch.
He said Kyle Busch, and then you got all sad about it.
Michael.
Well, I know, because that's who I was going to pick. But then
Michael,
I remembered that he got a point last weekend for picking Kyle Busch.
Oh.
Michael, turn your volume up. For some reason, we can't hear you. Pierre is going Kyle Larson, by the way.
Good pick.
Poor Kyle Larson.
Should have won here last year until he got, not really got
think
wrecked.
Kyle Larson's on a mission to not finish well this year. I think that's just his goal.
Okay, Michael from the hallway goes Kevin Harvick.
I've been picking Kevin Harvick. I have been picking Kevin Harvick so much this year. Oh, I'm just about done picking Harvick this year because I've done it so many times.
And it's when you don't pick him that he wins.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
Matt, did we get a pick from you?
Not yet. I've kind of been pulling and tugging with two different drivers. I've finally
pulling
decided.
And tugging.
Goodness.
Thank you. No, I'm only here to appease you. I'm only here to appease you.
That's what they always say.
Okay, that's making it worse. So go ahead and make your pick.
You gotta do a little bit of both.
You're on grade, bro.
So we're going to a 1.5 mile track. And this guy's ran well at all of the 1.5 mile tracks this year. He has a win on a 1.5 mile track this year. And it's a guy that has an average finish of 9.2 in his career at Chicago with 2 wins. Give me Atlanta winner Brad Keselowski to win at Chicagoland.
Okay.
BK. I'm going with Kyle Busch. He won last year.
And remember...
I love how you said that, and it was almost like he won last year, and I was just.
Also,
Mike dropped
nobody else
picked
him because I was trying to go for somebody that nobody else picked, unless one of our amazingly adorable and slightly ruined listeners picks him too.
Matt, go ahead before we say goodbye.
Yeah, also 2 wins at Chicago for Kyle Busch. Average finish of 10.6.
We're going to up that a little bit. If he wins this weekend, what would his average be?
10.3. I've got all my broadcast notes in front of me for Sunday, so just hit me up with anything you need. I'm the stat guy, don't you know?
So that'll be it for this episode of The Extra Mile. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. You can listen to his content on USRN on Mixlr.com. Mixlr ran into some issues, so they had to come over to IE Sports Radio for the race at Sonoma. Excuse me. but we will be back on Mixlr on Sunday. You can check out Lita's writings at gpgirl.com. Mine are at wbgrnetwork.com. It had a new write-up on racing at Hagerstown that just went up, and one of our new interns actually put up a story about the quarter midget track. And while I'm on this subject, a huge shout out to Hannah from the Red Rookies race at the Hagerstown quarter midget track, because she took no prisoners and ended up winning the high A main at the Hagerstown quarter midget track during the regional races there at the Speedway. So congratulations to her and her family, and we wish her luck in the rest of her racing career. Remember, if you've missed any episode of any any iSports Radio show, you can listen to it on on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, and now on YouTube, as we're also broadcasting on YouTube as well. And of course, keep it locked to our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also the iSports Radio website is coming right around the corner. So, with that being said, for all of my co-hosts this evening, this has been the Extra Mile. And for, let's see if I can get all these in one go. For Matthew, Lita, Michael, and Caitlin, I have been Daryl. This is the Extra Mile.
You have been Daryl? Are you still Daryl?
I am Daryl. This has been the Extra Mile, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.